They told us we'd be heroes, that the whole country would be waiting to thank us, that coming home would be the reward for everything we'd been through. They were wrong about that. My name is James Turner, born in rural Georgia, 1923, sharecropper's son. Grew up poor, but we didn't know it because everyone else was poor too. Joined the Army in 1942, right after my 19th birthday. Wanted to see the world. Wanted to escape the cotton fields. Wanted to be somebody. Be careful what you wish for. I spent 3 years overseas. North Africa first, then Sicily, then Italy, then France after D-Day. 3 years of combat. 3 years of watching friends die. 3 years of killing men I'd never met who were trying to kill me. 3 years of becoming something I didn't recognize. By May 1945, when Germany surrendered, I was a sergeant. Been through 4 campaigns. Earned a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart. Lost 2 toes to frostbite in the Ardennes. Lost count of how many firefights I'd been in. Lost track of how many men I'd killed. Most importantly, I'd lost the kid from Georgia who'd enlisted in 1942. That boy was gone. Buried somewhere in Europe with all the others who didn't make it home. The war ended, and they told us we'd be going home soon. The men cheered, celebrated, got drunk on whatever alcohol we could find. Everyone was happy. Everyone except the ones like me who couldn't remember what home even meant anymore. We spent the summer of 1945 in occupation duty in Germany, guarding prisoners, processing paperwork, waiting for our turn to ship out. The point system determined who went home first. You got points for time in service, time overseas, combat decorations, wounds. I had enough points to go home early. Lucky me. In August, they told us we were shipping out, gave us new uniforms, clean ones that didn't have mud or blood on them, made us look presentable for the folks back home, made us look like the heroes they expected us to be. We crossed the Atlantic on a troop ship, packed in like sardines, but nobody cared. We were going home. The men talked about what they'd do first, the meals they'd eat, the girls they'd kiss, the jobs they'd get, the normal lives they'd live. I didn't talk much, just stood on deck watching the ocean, trying to figure out who I was supposed to be when I got back. The Army had taught me how to kill, how to follow orders, how to survive. But nobody taught me how to stop being a soldier, how to be a civilian again, how to pretend that the last 3 years hadn't fundamentally changed who I was. We landed in New York in September 1945, came into the harbor past the Statue of Liberty. The men crowded the rails, cheering, crying, celebrating. I stood there feeling nothing, just tired, just hollow, just ready for it to be over. They processed us at Camp Kilmer in New Jersey. Medical checks, final paperwork, discharge papers. They gave us our pay, 3 years of back pay in cash, gave us our mustering out pay, gave us a new uniform to wear home, told us we were civilians now, told us to go live our lives, told us to forget about the war and move forward. Just like that, 3 years of war, and they expected us to just turn it off, put it away, go back to who we were before. I took a bus from New Jersey to Atlanta, then a smaller bus to my hometown. 20 hours of travel, 20 hours of watching America pass by the window. Cities, towns, farms, all untouched by war, all clean and normal and impossibly distant from everything I'd experienced. The man sitting next to me on the bus tried to make conversation, asked where I'd been, what I'd seen. Was I glad to be home? I gave him short answers. Yes, sir. Europe. 3 years. Very glad. He kept pushing, wanted stories, wanted to know what combat was like, what it felt like to kill a man, whether I was scared. I stopped answering, just looked out the window. He eventually got the hint and left me alone. But that would become a pattern. Everyone wanting stories, nobody wanting the truth. Everyone wanting the sanitized version where we were heroes and the enemy was evil and it all meant something. I got off the bus in my hometown on a Thursday afternoon in September 1945. 3 years and 3 months after I'd left. Same town, same buildings, same dirt roads. Nothing had changed, except me. I'd changed completely. My mother was waiting at the bus station. She'd gotten a telegram saying when I'd arrive. She was standing there in her church dress, crying, arms open. I walked up to her. She grabbed me, held me tight, said my name over and over. James, James, my boy, my boy. I stood there, arms at my sides, unable to hug her back, unable to feel what I was supposed to feel, unable to be the son she remembered. She pulled back, looked at my face, and I saw the moment she realized, saw it in her eyes, the recognition that I wasn't her boy anymore, that something fundamental had changed, that the person she'd sent off to war hadn't really come back. James, she said, you okay, baby? Yes, ma'am, I said. Just tired. That was the first lie. There would be thousands more. The town threw a parade for the returning veterans. About 30 of us had come back. We marched down Main Street while people cheered and waved flags. The high school band played. Kids ran alongside asking for autographs. Everyone was smiling. Everyone was celebrating. I felt like an imposter, like I was pretending to be someone I wasn't. The uniform fit wrong. The smile felt fake. The handshakes and thank yous and welcome homes felt hollow. There was a ceremony at the church. The mayor gave a speech about sacrifice and duty and how proud the town was. The pastor said a prayer for the men who didn't come back. They read names: Bobby Henderson, Michael Cross, Tommy Bradford, boys I'd grown up with, boys who died in places their families couldn't pronounce. After the ceremony, there was a reception, food and punch, and everyone wanting to talk to the veterans, wanting to hear stories, wanting to celebrate. An older man cornered me. Mr. Peterson owned the feed store. So, James, you kill any Germans? I stared at him. What kind of question was that? What was I supposed to say? Yes, I killed Germans. Killed them up close. Killed them from a distance. Killed them when they were trying to kill me, and killed them when they were trying to surrender. Killed teenagers who looked as scared as I felt. Killed men who probably had families waiting for them, too. Yes, sir, I said. I did my duty. That's my boy. He slapped me on the back. Bet you gave them hell. I excused myself, went outside, stood behind the church, trying to breathe, trying to understand why I felt so disconnected from everything, why I couldn't feel the joy everyone else seemed to feel. My mother found me. James, people want to see you. Don't be rude. I'm not feeling well, Mama. Can we go home? She looked worried, but nodded. We left early, drove home in her old Ford truck. She tried to make conversation, asked about my time overseas, asked if I'd made friends, asked if I'd been scared. I gave her vague answers, safe answers. Didn't tell her about watching my best friend die from a gut shot. Didn't tell her about the German soldier I'd bayoneted in close combat, feeling his blood on my hands. Didn't tell her about the constant fear, the exhaustion, the numbness that had replaced whatever feelings I used to have. Home was the same. Same small house. Same furniture. Same smell of cooking and wood smoke. My room was exactly as I'd left it. My mother had kept it that way, waiting for me. I stood in the doorway of my room looking at the bed, the dresser, the pictures on the wall. A different person had lived here. A boy who didn't know what war was, who thought it would be an adventure, who believed in heroes and glory and all the lies we tell ourselves to make killing seem noble. That night, my father came home from the fields. He was a quiet man, hard man, worked from sunup to sundown his whole life. He looked at me, nodded, shook my hand. Glad you made it back, son. Thank you, sir. That was it. That was all we said. But I saw something in his eyes. Recognition, maybe. He'd been in the First War, France, the trenches. He knew. He understood what nobody else did. That you don't just come home from war. That some part of you stays there forever. We ate dinner. My mother had made all my favorites. Fried chicken, cornbread, collard greens, peach pie. Food I'd dreamed about for 3 years. Food that had kept me going through the cold and the fear and the death. I couldn't eat it. Couldn't taste anything. My stomach had shrunk. The richness made me nauseous. I pushed food around my plate, trying to pretend. James, you need to eat, my mother said. You're so thin. I'm fine, Mama. Just not used to real food anymore. Another lie. The truth was, I couldn't reconcile this abundance with the starvation I'd seen. The German civilians after the war, desperate for scraps. The liberated prisoners, skeletal and dying. The contrast was too sharp. Made me feel guilty for every bite. That first night home, I couldn't sleep. The bed was too soft. The room was too quiet. Too dark. I kept jerking awake, thinking I was back in a foxhole, reaching for a rifle that wasn't there, listening for sounds of attack that would never come. Around 3 a.m., I gave up, went outside, sat on the porch steps. The Georgia night was peaceful. Crickets, warm air, stars, beautiful. But I couldn't see the beauty, could only feel the disconnect, the sense that I didn't belong here anymore, that I'd left something essential in Europe and couldn't get it back. My father came out, sat next to me, didn't say anything for a long time. Just sat there, 2 men in the dark, both carrying wars they couldn't talk about. Finally, he spoke. It takes time. What does? Coming back. Feeling like yourself again. He paused. If you ever do, did you feel like yourself again? He was quiet for a long moment. No, I learned to pretend, got good at it, but the war never really left me. We sat in silence, no more words needed. He understood, and knowing someone understood made it slightly more bearable, but only slightly. The town expected me to slip back into normal life, get a job, find a girl, settle down, act like the last 3 years hadn't happened, act like I was the same person who'd left. I tried. God knows I tried. I got a job at the sawmill, same place I'd worked before enlisting. Hard physical labor, decent pay. The foreman welcomed me back, said he was glad to have a veteran on the crew, put me to work. First day, a board fell, made a loud crack when it hit the concrete floor. I hit the ground immediately, combat instinct. Threw myself down, covering my head, waiting for the explosion. The other workers stared. Someone laughed. The foreman helped me up. It's okay, son. Just a board. I was shaking, covered in sawdust, humiliated. Sorry. Sorry. Don't worry about it. You'll adjust. But I didn't adjust. Every loud noise made me flinch. Every shadow made me reach for a weapon that wasn't there. The smell of diesel reminded me of tanks. The sight of red reminded me of blood. Everything triggered something. Everything connected back to the war. I lasted 3 weeks at the sawmill before I quit. Couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle the noise. Couldn't handle being around people. Couldn't handle pretending I was okay. My mother was worried. James, you need to work. Need to do something. I know, Mama. I need more time. But time wasn't helping. Time was making it worse. The longer I was home, the more disconnected I felt. The wider the gap between who I was and who everyone expected me to be. The town organized a dance for the veterans, welcome home celebration, All the local girls would be there. Everyone said I should go, said I needed to socialize, needed to find a girl and settle down. I went, wore my uniform because that's what was expected. Walked into the community center where everyone was dancing and laughing and having a good time. I lasted 10 minutes. The crowd, the noise, the expectations. It was suffocating. I walked out, drove to the river, sat on the bank, stayed there until dawn. People started talking. What's wrong with James Turner? War must have done something to him. He's not right anymore. They were correct. I wasn't right, wasn't whole, was fundamentally broken in ways that couldn't be fixed. But they said it like it was my fault, like I'd chosen to be this way, like I should just snap out of it and be normal. My mother set me up on a date with Sarah Collins, nice girl. We'd known each other in school. She'd written me letters overseas, cheerful letters about town gossip and weather and her job at the diner. We went to the movies, some comedy that everyone was laughing at. I couldn't follow the plot, couldn't understand why anything was funny, couldn't stop seeing the faces of dead men whenever I closed my eyes. Sarah tried to make conversation afterward. I asked what I'd done in Europe, where I'd been, what it was like. I gave her the sanitized version, the one everyone wanted to hear. We fought. We won. It was hard, but we did our duty. All the words that meant nothing. She knew I was lying, could see it in my face. James, are you okay? You seem different. I'm fine. You can talk to me. About anything. But I couldn't. How could I tell her about the young German soldier I'd killed in a farmhouse, watching his eyes go empty while my bayonet was in his chest? How could I tell her about the screaming, the smell of burning flesh, the way artillery shells made it rain body parts? How could I tell her that I didn't know how to be a normal person anymore? I'm just tired, I said, still adjusting. She didn't ask me out again. Word got around. James Turner's shell-shocked. War broke him. Shame, really. He used to be such a nice boy. I stopped leaving the house much, stopped trying to fit in. Just stayed home, helping my father with farm work, trying to get through each day without falling apart completely. The nightmares got worse. Every night I was back in Europe, back in combat, watching friends die, killing enemies who looked like scared kids, waking up screaming, waking up with my hands around my throat, thinking someone was choking me. My mother would come in. James, you're having nightmares again. I'm fine. Go back to bed. Baby, maybe you should see someone, talk to somebody. About what, Mama? About how I killed people? About how I'm not who you think I am anymore? About how I should have died over there like the others? She started crying. I felt terrible. But I also felt nothing. That was the worst part. The numbness. The inability to feel anything except the echo of fear and anger from the war. I started drinking. Not much at first. Just a little whiskey to help me sleep, to quiet the thoughts, to make the memories less sharp. But a little became more. More became too much. Became the only way I could function. My father caught me drinking at noon. Didn't say anything. Just looked at me with that same recognition. The understanding that came from his own war. His own demons. It doesn't help, he said quietly. Not really. Just makes it worse. I know. I took another drink anyway. By December 1945, 3 months after coming home, I was a wreck. Couldn't hold a job, couldn't maintain relationships, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't function. The whole town was whispering about me. The veteran who came back wrong, the hero who turned out to be broken. And I had no idea how to fix it. No idea how to bridge the gap between who I was and who I was supposed to be. No idea how to explain that the war hadn't ended just because I'd come home, that I was still fighting it, every day, every night, every moment. That coming home was supposed to be the happy ending, but for me it felt like just another kind of war. Winter, 1945 turned into spring 1946. The world moved on. The war faded into history. People stopped talking about it, stopped asking questions, started focusing on the future, building lives, making plans, moving forward. I was stuck, frozen in 1944, unable to move in any direction. The drinking got worse. I'd start in the morning, just a little to steady my hands, to quiet the noise in my head. By afternoon, I'd be drunk enough to not care. By evening, I'd be passed out, wake up at night with the nightmares, start the cycle again. My parents tried to help. My mother with concern and food and prayers. My father with quiet understanding and work that kept my hands busy. But neither could reach the part of me that was drowning. I lost weight, stopped shaving, stopped caring about appearance or hygiene or any of the things that marked a person as functional. I was disappearing, erasing myself slowly, and part of me welcomed it. Wanted to vanish completely rather than keep carrying this weight. The other veterans in town were doing better, most of them anyway. They'd gotten jobs, gotten married, started families, moved on. They'd talk about the war sometimes, but in a distant way, like it was something that happened to other people, like they'd been able to compartmentalize it and lock it away. I couldn't do that. Couldn't separate the war from everything else. It bled into everything, colored every thought, haunted every moment. There was one other veteran who understood, Charlie Mason. He'd been in the Pacific, fought at Guadalcanal and Okinawa, came back even more broken than me. We'd drink together sometimes, sit in silence, two ghosts who couldn't figure out how to be alive again. They don't get it, Charlie said one night. We were sitting by the river, passing a bottle back and forth. They want us to be heroes, want us to smile and say it was worth it, want us to pretend we're fine. Yeah. I killed a kid, he said suddenly. Japanese soldier. Couldn't have been more than 16. He was crying, begging. I shot him anyway. Had to. It was him or me. But I see his face every time I close my eyes. I bayoneted a man, I heard myself say. Close enough to smell his breath. Watched him die. Felt it. And I felt nothing. That's what scares me most. Not that I killed him, but that I didn't care. We sat in silence, both carrying unbearable things, both drowning slowly, both wondering if we'd ever find our way back to shore. Charlie died in July 1946, put a gun in his mouth, left no note. His family said it was an accident. Everyone knew it wasn't. The town whispered about it for a week, then forgot, moved on, like he'd never existed. I thought about joining him. Thought about it a lot. Would be easy, quick, final. No more pretending. No more trying to be something I wasn't. No more carrying the weight of all those deaths and all those memories and all that disconnect. My father found me one night, standing in the barn with his hunting rifle, staring at it, working up the courage. He took the rifle, didn't say anything, just took it and locked it away. Sat with me on the barn floor while I cried for the first time since coming home. Cried for Charlie, for all the men who didn't make it, for the person I used to be who died in Europe, for the unbearable impossibility of being a veteran in a world that had moved on without us. I can't do this, I said. I can't keep pretending. Then don't pretend, my father said. Not with me, not with yourself. But everyone expects. Forget what everyone expects. They don't know. They can't know. You're not fighting for them anymore. You're fighting to survive. That's enough. That conversation changed something, not fixed anything, Not made it better, but gave me permission to stop pretending. Stop trying to be who I was before. Accept that I was someone different now. Someone damaged. Someone carrying things that would never get lighter. I stopped drinking. Not all at once, but slowly. Replaced the alcohol with work. Went back to helping my father on the farm. Physical labor that exhausted my body enough that sometimes I could sleep. Not always. Not well, but enough to keep going. I stopped trying to socialize, stopped caring what the town thought, became a recluse, the weird veteran who lived on his parents' farm and didn't talk to anybody, let them whisper, let them judge, didn't have the energy to care. The nightmares continued, the flashbacks continued, the hypervigilance continued, but I learned to live with them, learned that they wouldn't kill me, that I could survive them. That survival, not recovery, was the only realistic goal. Time passed. 1946 became 1947. 1947 became 1948. The town forgot about the war completely. New crises emerged, new concerns. The veterans faded into background. Just regular people trying to live regular lives. Except we weren't regular, would never be regular again. We were marked, changed, fundamentally altered by what we'd seen and done. And no amount of time or distance would change that. By 1950, I'd settled into a kind of equilibrium. Not happiness, not normalcy, just existence. A routine that got me through each day without completely falling apart. I worked the farm with my father. We expanded, got more land, more crops, worked ourselves to exhaustion. That was good. Exhaustion meant sleep. Sleep meant fewer nightmares. Fewer nightmares meant I could function the next day. I still didn't socialize. The town had written me off. The weird veteran, the one who couldn't adjust. Fine by me. Easier to be alone than to pretend to be something I wasn't. But the weight never got lighter. If anything, it got heavier. The older I got, the more I understood what I'd lost. Youth, innocence, the ability to trust, the ability to feel joy, the ability to imagine a future that wasn't just survival. In 1952, my mother got sick. Cancer. It took her slowly, painfully. I watched her waste away over months, watched my father care for her with a tenderness that made me realize I'd never learned how to be tender, how to be gentle, how to love without the guard up. The war had taken that from me. She died in October 1952. The funeral was big. The whole town came, said nice things, brought food, offered condolences. I stood there feeling nothing, not grief, not sadness, just that familiar numbness that had become my default state. After the funeral, my father and I were alone. Two men who'd both been to war, both changed by it, both struggling to live in a world that seemed foreign to us. "She never gave up on you," he said one night. "Thought you'd come back someday. The real you." "I am the real me," I said. "This is who I am now." He nodded, understood. "I know, son. I know." We worked the farm together. Two damaged men finding purpose in physical labor, in routine, in not having to talk about anything that mattered. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep going. Then in 1955, my father had a stroke, massive. It killed him within hours. I was alone with him when he died. He tried to say something at the end, couldn't get the words out, just looked at me with eyes that understood everything we'd never said to each other. After he died, I was alone, truly alone. No family left, no friends, no connections to anything except the land and the memories and the weight. I kept working the farm, alone. It was harder without help, but I managed. Survival had always been my strongest skill. War taught me that. how to keep going when everything says stop, how to endure when there's no hope, how to exist when existence is all you have left. The Korean War started, then ended. More veterans came home. Some adjusted, some didn't. I saw my own story reflected in the young men who came back changed, who couldn't explain what they'd been through, who couldn't fit back into civilian life, history repeating, the same cycle of sending boys to war and getting back damaged men. By 1960, 15 years after coming home, I'd accepted my reality. This was my life. Solitary, empty, functional but not whole. I'd survived the war, survived coming home, survived the decades of isolation and numbness and carrying the weight. But I'd never really lived, not since 1942, not since I was 19 years old and thought war would be an adventure. That person died in Europe. What came back was something else, something that learned to exist but not to live, something that functioned but never healed, something that carried too much to ever be free. It's 1960 now. I'm 37 years old, 15 years since I came home from the war. Half my life lived in the shadow of those 3 years in Europe. The farm is doing well. I work it alone, make enough to survive, live in my parents' house, sleep in my childhood bedroom, exist in a space frozen in time, never moving forward, never able to go back, just existing in the permanent present of survival. I never married, never had children, never built the life everyone expected me to build. The life I might have built if I'd been someone different, someone who hadn't gone to war, someone who hadn't seen what I saw, done what I did, become what I became. Sometimes I wonder what that other James Turner would have been like, the one who stayed home, who married Sarah Collins, who raised kids and worked a normal job and went to church on Sundays and died at 80, surrounded by grandchildren. But that's not my story. That person doesn't exist except as a ghost. A might have been that died when I got on a bus in 1942 and left this town behind. The nightmares continue, less frequent now, maybe. Or maybe I'm just used to them. Wake up less panicked, less disoriented. Just accept that my nights will be filled with Europe, with combat, with faces of dead men. It's been 15 years. They're old friends now, these ghosts. The town doesn't talk about me much anymore. I'm just part of the landscape, the veteran who lives alone, the odd one, the one who never quite came back right. They've moved on to newer scandals, newer concerns. I'm old news, forgotten. That's fine, easier that way. Other veterans from town have done better, most of them. They built lives, families, careers, seem to put the war behind them. Or maybe they're just better at pretending, better at compartmentalizing, better at lying to themselves about what they saw and did. I couldn't do that. Couldn't separate the war from everything else. It's woven into every part of me, every thought, every reaction, every moment. I am the war, and the war is me, and there's no distinguishing between them anymore. Sometimes young men in town ask about the war. Korea vets now, starting to come home. They see something in me. Recognition. Understanding that I've been where they are. That I know what they're feeling. I don't have answers for them. Don't have wisdom. Just the truth. It doesn't get better. You don't recover. You just learn to carry it. Learn to exist despite it. Learn that survival is its own kind of victory, even when it feels like defeat. They gave us parades when we came home, told us we were heroes, told us we'd saved the world, told us to be proud, told us everything would be fine. They were wrong. Everything wasn't fine. Heroes don't wake up screaming. Heroes don't drink themselves numb. Heroes don't spend 15 years unable to connect with another human being. Heroes don't feel relief when the people they love die because it means fewer people to disappoint. The truth they don't tell you. Coming home is harder than war. In war, your mission is clear. Survive, kill the enemy, follow orders. Simple, brutal, but clear. Coming home, there's no mission, no orders. Just the expectation that you'll slip back into a life that doesn't fit anymore. Pretend to be someone you're not. Act like the last few years didn't fundamentally change everything about who you are. They sent us to fight, taught us to kill, shaped us into weapons, then brought us home and expected us to instantly become civilians again, expected us to just turn it off, put away the war like a uniform in a closet. But you can't put away what you've become, can't separate the person from the experience, can't undo the changes war makes to your soul. I survived the war, survived coming home, survived 15 years of isolation and numbness and carrying the weight. But I never truly came back. Part of me is still over there, still in Europe, still in combat, still 19 years old and terrified and trying to understand why we're doing this. The rest of me is here, in Georgia, on a farm, going through the motions of life, but not really living, just existing, just surviving. That's all I know how to do. They told us we'd be heroes, that coming home would be the reward, that we'd spend the rest of our lives celebrated and honored and grateful. They were wrong. Coming home was just another battlefield, different enemy, same war. And I've been fighting it every day for 15 years. We'll fight it until I die, until finally, mercifully, I can stop carrying this weight. The war ended in 1945, for everyone except us. For us, it never ended. We just brought it home, carried it inside us, let it hollow us out slowly while the world moved on without us. That's the truth they don't put on recruitment posters. That's the cost they don't mention in victory speeches. Not just the dead, but the ones who came home and couldn't really come back. The ones who survived but stopped living. The ones who spent decades drowning in peacetime. I'm 37 years old, been home 15 years, and I'm still trying to figure out how to come home, still trying to find my way back to whoever I was before, still carrying every friend who died, every enemy I killed, every moment of fear and horror and inhuman violence. They told us we'd be heroes. They didn't tell us heroes don't exist. Just survivors pretending to be whole while broken pieces cut them from the inside. Just damaged men learning to exist in a world that doesn't understand what they've lost. Just ghosts walking through lives that feel like someone else's. That's what coming home really means. Not parades and medals and grateful nation, but isolation and numbness and permanent displacement. It means carrying the war forever. It means never really arriving, never really being home. Just existing somewhere between who you were and who you became, never quite either one, never quite whole. They told us we'd be heroes, but all I am is a survivor. And some days, I'm not even sure that's enough.